Welcome to the Bruce Williams channel. In this video, I would like to share with you one of my personal favorite luxury price divers that sits at about $5,000. This is the Breitling Superocean Heritage B20 in the 42mm size. And I have the black dial, black bezel on the mesh in front of the camera today. And this is a very attractive retro design. This design is based off of the original Breitling Superocean that debuted back in 1957. And if we take a look at the original next to this kind of modern iteration, you can see where the design takes its inspiration from, but it definitely has some contemporary elements that have been injected into this design, like the gloss ceramic bezel insert that carries a lot of light play and reflections, and I think really works well with the all-polished case, and specifically this polished Milanese style mesh that is tapered. And so when you put on one of these watches, you really see a lot of pizzazz, a lot of light play, and they become, just very pretty objects on wrist. And it's more than just a pretty watch. I like the fact that we have the old school fonts of Superocean proudly printed on the dial. I really like the old school B logo that is done in the gilt tone. I think these hands are long, they're rhodium plated, they're very dominant. And once every hour, when that minute hand crosses over the pointer hour hand, you kind of get this sleek kind of jet shape or rocket shape when it comes to just the form of the two hands superimposed over each other. So I really like the style, I really like the details, I really like the design history, and I like the fact that this has a cambered sapphire crystal with anti-reflective coatings that I think are second to none in the industry. It's just a very satisfying application on the top of the crystal as well as the underside of the crystal. So you get unmatched clarity. You see the dial details to a very pleasing degree. But then you have direct harsh reflections from various light sources that create an iridescent blue sheen that also adds to the detail work, the light play of the gloss black ceramic bezel, and then of course the reflections on the polished case, and then this tapering mesh bracelet. So a lot going on visually. Within the watch is the B20 movement that is technically referred to as a Tudor in-house movement. It's actually made by Kinesi, but it's essentially a 5612 MT movement. So Breitling calls it the B20. It has 26 jewels, a free-sprung balance system. It beats 28,800 times every hour and will carry 70 hours of power reserve, which is just shy of 3 days. And I find that very satisfying myself. Here is the watch on my 7.25-inch wrists. I think with the Superocean Heritage, you could actually go up a size depending on your sport watch preferences. So this one is the 42 on a 7.25-inch wrist, but I've also owned the 44 and I've tried on the 46, and honestly, I think I could wear any of them myself. So it wears deceptively smaller, even though it is a pretty substantive sports watch. Now, I did mention that I own the 44mm version in the blue on the mesh. That one was a beautiful shade of blue. And I was curious about the execution of the movement. Did it really look like a Tudor movement? What was the finish level like? So I took my example. I think this was like 2 years ago now at this point, as of the time of recording, but I took it down to my trusted watchmaker, my certified watchmaker, and he opened up the case back and I took a look at the movement. And I'll share the footage here in this video, but essentially Breitling has a nicer finish than what the finish is on the Tudor movements that are very austere and almost industrial. They're essentially unfinished, but Breitling, they put a little bit of effort into the finish work, which I think is a really nice thing. The slightly disappointing thing, though, is the fact that they've swapped out the silicone hairspring that's found in the manufacturer Tudor movements, and they place in a standard metallic alloy hairspring, which technically, have we survived on those hairsprings for decades and decades and decades? Yes, absolutely. But there's something in the back of my mind that says, I want silicone, I want that anti-magnetic nature of that synthetic material. So I don't know if Breitling has changed that in the couple years since I opened up that 44, but I wanted to share that information with you. In case you're seriously cross-shopping this watch with a different watch that sits at about $5,000, I recognize this segment of the market is very stiff with competition, but I've got to say, I don't know, there's something about this design, there's something about this execution of the Breitling, it's very compelling. And I've come close to buying the 42 green dial on a number of occasions. I think there is something so alluring about the verdant, vibrant shade of green. Breitling has pulled that off so very well. So that is a serious contender for a future purchase for me. But I like the blue. Obviously, I like this black here that I'm sharing with you in this video. I think that there has not been a quote-unquote ugly colorway that Breitling has done with the Superocean Heritage 2 B20. Now, I will end with one other thing, one other negative element, and it's not a deal breaker in my opinion, but again, if you're shopping this watch, I want you to be aware of this. If you buy this, I recommend buying it on the mesh. I think the mesh is a very nice quality. It tapers, there are removable links, and then there is a milled clasp. But that's the thing, the clasp feels a bit dated. There is no toolless micro adjustment system in this clasp, and that it's a disappointing thing. It's a standard friction closure. So, I think Breitling needs to step up the game in that department. But the good news is they're starting to do it. So I bought the latest Superocean, not the Heritage, just the standard Superocean. And that one, regardless of if you buy it on rubber or on bracelet, you get a nice milled clasp with a toolless micro adjustment system. And I would love to see Breitling take that clasp and integrate it here into the mesh on this Superocean Heritage model. I think that would be a great thing that would be, well received amongst the watch collector community. So that being said, let me know if I've missed anything. Let me know if you have any specific questions. I'd be happy to answer those questions in the comments of this video. And if you are shopping for a Breitling, I'm going to recommend Brent Miller Jewelers. They're an excellent family-owned brick-and-mortar AD that I've visited multiple times. I've purchased from them multiple times in the past. I'll leave a link in the description of this video. Again, reach out with those questions. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.